Hey guys. Tonight we're going back to the Western Front, to the mud and the chaos of the Great War. It's a story of survival, of endurance, and of the incredible strain placed on the young men tasked with one of the most dangerous jobs imaginable. Before we begin, if you enjoy these long, historical narrations, please take a moment to like the video, and maybe leave a comment letting us all know where you're listening from tonight. It's always fascinating to see how far these stories travel. Now, find a comfortable position. Dim the lights, close your eyes, and just allow yourself to sink into the sound of my voice. Let the world outside fade away as we travel back in time. Let the story begin. You wake up not because of the light, but because of the cold. It's a specific kind of cold, one that doesn't just live on your skin but has soaked deep into your bones through the damp wool of your uniform and the thin layers of undergarments that have not been truly dry in weeks. It is a presence, an entity that has been your constant companion since you arrived in this godforsaken ditch. Your first sensation is the rough, scratchy texture of the sandbag you've been using as a pillow. Its weave is coarse against your cheek, and you can smell the damp, earthy rot of the jute fibers and the dirt packed inside. You shift, and a pain, dull and familiar, awakens in your lower back. You've been sleeping curled on a fire step, a narrow ledge of earth carved into the trench wall, and your body protests the unnatural position. Your knees ache, your neck is stiff, and a small, persistent shiver runs through you that has nothing to do with fear and everything to do with the seeping, relentless chill of a pre-dawn morning in Flanders. You don't open your eyes just yet. You listen. Listening is the first and last thing you do every day. It's a constant, subconscious act, a survival instinct honed to a razor's edge. Above the sound of your own quiet, shallow breathing, you hear the symphony of the front. It's quieter now, in the hour before dawn. The so-called morning hate has not yet begun. But it's never truly silent. Far to the south, a low, continuous rumble, like distant thunder, speaks of an artillery duel that has likely been raging for days. It's so constant that your mind barely registers it anymore, treating it as the baseline of all sound, the very pulse of this new world. Closer, you hear the intermittent cough of a single rifle, a nervous sentry, perhaps, firing at a shadow in no man's land. Then, a pause. Then another crack, sharp and lonely in the damp air. You hear the tired, wet cough of a man somewhere down the line, a rattling, chesty sound that speaks of bronchitis and too many cheap, hand-rolled cigarettes. You hear the scuttling of a rat, its claws scratching against a piece of corrugated iron just out of sight. They are the true kings of this place, fat and bold from the feast that never ends. You can smell them, a musky, unpleasant odor that mingles with everything else. The air itself is thick with smells, a heavy blanket of them that you breathe in with every waking moment. There is the primal smell of wet earth, a rich, loamy scent that is the foundation of it all. Layered on top is the acrid tang of cordite and burnt powder, a metallic ghost that hangs in the air long after the shells have fallen. There is the sharp, chemical bite of chloride of lime, sprinkled liberally over the latrine pits and the darker, more permanent stains on the trench floor, a futile attempt to combat a stench that can never truly be vanquished. And beneath it all, faint but ever present, is the sweet, cloying smell of decay. It comes from the mud, from the sandbags, from the unburied dead lying in the churned earth just a few dozen yards away. You've learned not to think about it, to breathe shallowly, to accept it as part of the air itself. Slowly, you push yourself up. Your muscles scream in protest. You swing your legs over the edge of the fire step, and your boots land with a thick, sucking squelch in the ankle-deep mud on the floor of the trench. The mud is a universe unto itself. It is not just dirt and water. It is a greedy, viscous slurry of clay, human waste, ration tins, lost equipment, and things you refuse to identify. It pulls at your boots with a lover's embrace, making every step an act of deliberate effort. You steady yourself with a hand against the trench wall. It's cold and slimy to the touch, the sandbags weeping a slow, steady trickle of brown water. You look up. The sky is a sliver of bruised purple and charcoal gray, visible between the jagged parapet of your trench and the parados behind you. No stars. It looks like rain is coming. Again, a low voice cuts through the gloom. Stand to, on your feet. It's Sergeant Miller, his voice a gravelly whisper that carries no warmth but a world of authority. The order is almost unnecessary. The internal clock of trench life has already woken most of the men. All along the narrow, winding corridor of earth, you see shapes stirring, groaning, pushing themselves into a semblance of alertness. Men who were boys just months ago now look like old men, their faces pale and gaunt in the half-light, etched with lines of exhaustion. You see the faint orange glow of a hidden cigarette, cupped in a soldier's hands to shield it from snipers. You see the glint of a helmet as a man adjusts it on his head. You reach for your own rifle. It's leaning against the wall where you left it, the wooden stock damp and cold, the metal parts slick with a thin film of condensation. You work the bolt, the click-clack sound unnaturally loud in the quiet. It's stiff. Everything is always stiff from the damp. You wipe it down as best you can with an oily rag you keep in your pocket, a ritual performed out of habit more than hope. You check the magazine. Full. You sling it over your shoulder, the strap digging into the worn fabric of your tunic. The weight is familiar, a comfort and a burden all at once. You climb onto the fire step, your boots slipping slightly on the slick wood. This is the ritual. Stand to. Every man, up and down the line, on the fire step, rifle ready, peering over the top into the gray wasteland of no man's land. This is the most dangerous time of day, the half-light of dawn, the traditional time for an attack. Your heart rate, which had been a slow, tired thud, picks up a little. Adrenaline, cold and sharp, trickles into your veins. You rest your rifle on the parapet, its muzzle pointing towards the German lines, somewhere out there in the mist. You keep your head down, peering through a small gap between two sandbags. The view is a study in desolation, a hellscape of churned mud, the color of death. The ground is pocked with water-filled shell craters, their surfaces like clouded mirrors reflecting the grim sky. The skeletal remains of trees, stripped of their leaves and branches by artillery, stand like skeletal fingers pointing accusingly at the heavens. And the wire, tangled, rusty skeins of barbed wire, thick as thorn bushes, snaking across the landscape. Here and there, dark, lumpy shapes are caught in the wire or half submerged in the mud. You don't look at them too closely. You learned that lesson early on. They were men, now they are just part of the landscape. For a full hour, you stand there, motionless, silent, just watching, your eyes strained to catch any movement in the swirling morning mist. Is that a helmet over there? Or just a trick of the light on a broken piece of timber? Did that shadow move, or was it just a rat? The tension is a physical thing, a tight band around your chest. Every man is feeling it. The silence is more terrifying than the noise. The noise, you can understand. The silence is full of possibilities, all of them bad. Your fingers are numb around the cold steel of your rifle. Your stomach growls, a hollow, empty feeling. You haven't eaten since yesterday's biscuit and bully beef. The thought of food is a distant dream. Then, as the sky slowly lightens from gray to a watery, pale white, the tension begins to ease. The morning hate begins, right on schedule. It starts with a single, high-pitched whistle, a sound that makes you flinch instinctively, followed by a crump 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 as a salvo of German shells lands somewhere behind your line, targeting the support trenches or the artillery batteries. Soon, your own guns answer, a deeper, throatier bark from far behind you. The air begins to hum and whine with the passage of shells, a deadly, invisible traffic passing high overhead. The daily routine of killing has resumed. Paradoxically, you feel a sense of relief. The waiting is over. This is normal. This is the sound of another day you have, so far, survived. Sergeant Miller's voice comes again, still low, but with the tension gone. Stand down. 10 minutes for scoff. The men climb down from the fire step, their movements slow and weary. The relief is palpable. You can hear quiet chatter break out, the scraping of mess tins, the clink of a spoon. You slump back down onto the fire step, your back against the cold, wet sandbags. You don't have any food. Your job doesn't always allow for regular mealtimes. You're a runner. Your schedule is not your own. You pull your gas mask satchel around from your back and check its contents. Not for the mask itself, but for the other things you keep in there. A tattered letter from your sister, its creases worn soft as cloth. A half-empty packet of woodbines. A stump of a pencil and a small, damp notebook. These are your treasures, the small things that prove you are still you. You run a finger over your sister's familiar handwriting, the ink slightly blurred from the damp. You don't read it, you know it by heart. Just touching it is enough. Henderson, Sergeant Miller is standing over you. His face is all sharp angles and deep-set eyes. A face that has seen too much and slept too little. He's holding a small, folded piece of paper, tucked into a waterproof canvas pouch. Message for Captain Davies. Battalion HQ. You know the way. It's not a question. You nod, your mouth suddenly dry. Battalion HQ, that's a long run. It means leaving the relative safety of the front-line trench and navigating the labyrinth of communication trenches all the way back to the support lines, and then further, to the ruined village where the command post is set up. It's a quiet morning, the sergeant says, though his tone suggests he doesn't believe it for a second. Should be a walk in the park. Just watch yourself around C-section. Jerry was dropping whiz-bangs on it all night. The duckboards are a mess. You take the canvas pouch from him. It feels heavy in your hand, heavier than a piece of paper has any right to be. The fate of men, orders to advance, requests for supplies, casualty reports, it could be anything. Your job is not to know what it is. Your job is to get it there. You are a human telegraph wire, and just as vulnerable. You stand up, your body protesting again. You settle your helmet more firmly on your head, adjusting the chin strap until it's snug under your chin. You check your rifle one last time, then your ammunition pouches. You have your gas mask, your water bottle, half full with stale, chlorinated water, and the message. That's all you have. That's all you are. Good luck, son, Miller says, his voice almost gentle. He claps you on the shoulder, a brief, hard gesture of camaraderie. You just nod again, not trusting your voice. You turn and begin to walk, your boots making that same sucking sound in the mud. The journey has begun. You are now alone. The front line trench is narrow, barely wide enough for two men to pass if they squeeze tightly against the walls. You pass other soldiers, their faces impassive. They press themselves against the sandbags to let you through, their eyes following you with a mixture of pity and respect. They know your job. They know the risks. You are leaving the relative safety of their company to venture into the arteries of this earthen beast, alone. You come to a junction, marked with a crude, hand-painted wooden sign. Regent Street, it says, a bitter joke from a life none of you can quite remember. You turn left, into the communication trench. The walls here are higher, designed to protect from shrapnel and prying eyes. The sky is now just a thin ribbon of gray far above. The sound of the shelling becomes slightly more muffled, the sharp cracks of rifles more distant. But the sense of isolation deepens. The floor of the communication trench is supposed to be lined with duckboards, wooden slats nailed together to form a walkway over the mud. But here, they are in a state of utter disrepair. Many are broken, their ends sticking up like jagged teeth. Others have sunk completely, submerged beneath a thick, soupy layer of mud and water that could be ankle-deep or waist-deep. You learn to read the surface of the water, to look for the telltale ripples that might betray a hidden shell hole. You take your first tentative step onto a section of duckboard. It groans under your weight and sinks several inches, cold, foul water flooding over the top of your boots and soaking your already damp socks. You curse under your breath, a low, bitter sound that is swallowed by the trench. The cold is immediate and shocking. You grit your teeth and press on. Each step is a calculation of risk. Step on the center of the board. Feel for its stability before committing your full weight. Use the trench wall for balance. Your rifle, slung over your shoulder, feels heavy and awkward, constantly snagging on the rough sandbags or protruding pieces of wood. The trench zigzags constantly. This is by design, to limit the blast effect of a shell that lands directly inside. But it makes the journey a disorienting, claustrophobic nightmare. You can never see more than 10 or 15 yards ahead. Every corner you turn could reveal anything. A collapsed section of the wall, a flooded crater, or a fellow soldier coming the other way. After about 100 yards of this slow, painful progress, you hear a sound that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It's a low, rhythmic moaning. You slow down, your hand tightening on the grip of your rifle. You round a sharp corner and see him. A man is sitting on the ground, leaning against the trench wall, his legs stretched out in front of him. He's not wounded, not in the physical sense. His uniform is intact, but his head is in his hands, and he is rocking back and forth, making that same terrible, low sound. Shell shock. His helmet is on the ground beside him, and you can see his whole body is trembling uncontrollably. His eyes are wide and staring, but they don't see you. They see something else, something from a shell explosion or a raid that has shattered his mind. You should stop. You should help him. But what can you do? You have your orders. You have the message. And you know, with a cold certainty, that there is nothing you can do for him. He is a ghost, already lost. Other men will come for him. That's their job. Your job is to keep moving. You edge past him, pressing yourself against the opposite wall, trying not to look at his face. The moaning follows you down the trench until it is finally lost around another corner. The image of his eyes, however, is burned into your mind. You press on, your pace a little faster now, driven by a renewed sense of urgency. The smell in this section is worse. The chloride of lime is stronger here, and you know what that means. You pass a collapsed dugout, its entrance a black, gaping maw. A crude sign nailed to a timber says, "Danger, unsafe." You can see the splintered beams and caved-in earth. You don't know if anyone was inside when it happened. You don't want to know. Further on, you come to the section Sergeant Miller warned you about. C section. It's a mess. A recent shell, a whiz-bang by the look of the small, neat crater, has landed directly on the duckboards. The wooden walkway is gone, replaced by a deep, water-filled hole that spans the entire width of the trench. The water is a thick, brown soup, and you have no idea how deep it is. You can see the splintered remains of the duckboards floating on the surface. You have two choices. You can try to climb up and over the parapet, exposing yourself to sniper fire for a few crucial seconds. Or you can go through it. You look up at the thin slice of sky. The thought of your silhouette against that gray backdrop makes your stomach clench. You choose the water. You take a deep breath, hold your rifle high over your head with one hand, and use the other to brace yourself against the wall. You step into the crater. The water is shockingly cold, and much deeper than you thought. It comes up to your waist immediately, the immense pressure of it pushing the air from your lungs in a gasp. The mud at the bottom is thick and greedy, sucking at your legs, trying to pull you down. For a terrifying moment, your foot slips on something smooth and hard beneath the surface. A rock? A piece of equipment? A helmet? You don't let your mind linger on it. You fight for purchase, your muscles straining, and drag yourself forward, step by agonizing step. The water soaks your tunic, your trousers, everything. The weight of your waterlogged clothes is immense. It feels like the trench itself is trying to drown you, to pull you under and make you a permanent part of its foul ecosystem. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, you reach the other side. You haul yourself out of the crater, your body shaking with cold and exertion. You are covered in a layer of stinking, brown slime from the chest down. You lean against the trench wall, gasping for breath, your heart pounding in your chest. The water in your boots squelches with every small movement. The cold is now a living thing inside you, a core of ice that seems to extinguish all other feeling. But you cannot rest. You have the message. You have your orders. You push yourself off the wall and continue, your sodden uniform chafing your skin with every step. The sounds of the front are a little different here, further back from the line. The rifle fire is gone, replaced by the more sporadic, but much louder, boom of the big guns. The air still hums with their passage. You pass another junction, and then another, following the crude signs that point towards Battalion HQ. You are a rat in a maze, but a rat with a purpose. You start to see more signs of organization, of a world slightly removed from the immediate chaos of the front. The trench walls are better maintained, with more corrugated iron and timber shoring. You see telephone wires, thick black cables, running along the wall, disappearing into dugouts. These are the nerve endings of the army, fragile and vulnerable. Your job exists because these wires are so often cut by shellfire. You pass a first aid post, a dugout with a red cross painted on a piece of wood above the entrance. The smell of antiseptic and blood hangs in the air. You see a line of wounded men sitting or lying on the ground outside, waiting to be seen. One has a bloody bandage wrapped around his head. Another is holding his arm, his face pale and slick with sweat. A third just stares blankly at the trench wall, his face a mask of shock. You avert your eyes and walk faster. Their misery is a contagion you cannot afford to catch. Finally, after what must be close to an hour of walking, stumbling, and waiting, you emerge from the communication trench into a wider, deeper support trench. From here, you can see the shattered remains of what was once a small French village. The church is a jagged stump of stone, its steeple gone. The houses are piles of rubble, their roofs caved in, their walls blasted open. This is where the headquarters is located, in the reinforced cellars of what was once the village mayor's house. You navigate the last few hundred yards through a network of trenches that crisscross the ruined landscape. You can see other men here, staff officers with their clean uniforms and red-banded hats, signalers, orderlies. They move with a purpose that seems alien after the weary stillness of the front line. To them, you are a creature from another world, a mud-caked golem emerging from the filth. They give you a wide berth, their noses wrinkling at the smell that clings to you. You find the correct dugout. 2 sentries stand at the entrance, their bayonets fixed. They look clean and well-fed. "Message for Captain Davies," you say, your voice hoarse. One of the sentries nods, unimpressed. He's in the signals office. Down the steps, second door on the left. You descend the steep wooden steps into the earth. The air down here is thick with the smell of damp concrete, tobacco smoke, and the faint hum of electrical equipment. It's dimly lit by a few hurricane lamps that cast long, dancing shadows on the walls. You find the second door and knock. A voice from within calls out, "Enter." You push the door open and step inside. The room is small and crowded. A man with captain's bars on his collar is leaning over a table covered in maps, talking quietly with a signals operator who has headphones clamped over his ears. This is Captain Davies. He looks up as you enter, his eyes taking in your filthy, dripping state. "What is it, soldier?" he asks, his voice crisp and impatient. You unsling your rifle and hold out the canvas pouch. "Message from Sergeant Miller, front line, sir." He takes the pouch, his fingers avoiding yours. He opens it, pulls out the folded piece of paper, and reads it. His expression doesn't change. You stand there, dripping onto the floor, feeling utterly out of place. The signals operator glances at you, his eyes wide, before quickly looking away. Captain Davies finishes reading. He folds the paper and looks at you. "Is there a reply?" "I was told to wait, sir." He nods, turning to a small table in the corner where another officer is writing in a ledger. "Williams, get a message ready. Standard supply request. Add a line about the poor state of the duckboards in C section. And get this man some tea and a rum ration. He looks like he's been for a swim." The other officer grunts in acknowledgement. Captain Davies turns his attention back to the map, already dismissing you from his mind. Your part in this transaction is over. For a few precious minutes, you are safe. You are warm. You are out of the mud. Someone hands you a steaming hot mug of tea. It's sweet and strong, and you gulp it down, the warmth spreading through your chest, a small miracle in the cold landscape of your body. Then comes the rum, a small measure poured into your empty mug. You drink it in one go. The fiery liquid burns its way down your throat, a raw, beautiful heat that makes your eyes water and your head swim. For a moment, the shivering stops. The gnawing ache in your bones recedes. The image of the shell-shocked soldier and the feel of the crater mud fade just a little. It's a temporary reprieve, a borrowed moment of peace. But right now, it is everything. You stand in the corner of the warm, smoky room, the empty mug in your hands, and you wait for the piece of paper that will send you back out into the noise, and the cold, and the long, terrible walk home. The wait feels both impossibly long and mercifully short. You stand in the corner of the signals office, a ghost at the feast, trying to make yourself as small as possible. The warmth of the dugout, which at first felt like a blessing, now seems to be working against you. It thaws the deep, frozen core of your body, but in doing so, it awakens the pain. The chafing from your wet uniform becomes a raw, burning sensation against your thighs and under your arms. The cuts and scratches on your hands, which you hadn't even noticed, begin to sting. The ache in your lower back returns with a vengeance. The rum has worn off, leaving behind a dull throb in your temples. You can feel the water still sloshing in your boots, a cold, heavy weight anchoring you to your misery. The officers in the room ignore you completely. They are busy men who deal in maps and telephone calls, men who move battalions like chess pieces from the safety of their underground world. Their uniforms are clean, their faces are shaven, and they speak in a clipped, efficient language you barely understand. They talk of salients and bombardments, of logistics and casualty estimates. It is the language of gods, far removed from the primal reality of the mud and the wire. You watch them, feeling a gulf wider than no man's land between you and them. You are the instrument of their will, the fleshy cog in their great machine, but you are not part of their world. The young officer, Williams, finishes writing. He sprinkles sand over the ink to dry it, blows it away, folds the paper with precise, neat creases, and seals it in a fresh canvas pouch. He doesn't look at you. He hands it to Captain Davies, who gives it a cursory glance before turning to you. Right, Henderson. This goes back to Sergeant Miller. Same route. Acknowledge. Yes, sir, you manage to say, your voice still rough. He holds out the pouch. You take it, the clean, dry canvas a stark contrast to your own filthy, trembling hands. And try not to fall in this time, the captain adds, a faint, condescending smile playing on his lips. It's meant as a joke, you suppose, but it lands like a stone in your gut. There is no humor left in you. You nod, sling your rifle back over your shoulder, and turn to leave without another word. The moment you step out of the dugout and begin the climb up the wooden steps, the reality of your situation crashes back down on you. The air outside is colder than you remembered. The gray sky seems to press down on the ruined village with a heavy, oppressive weight. The distant rumble of the guns is louder now, a constant, menacing growl. The brief sanctuary is over. The journey back has begun. Your body moves on autopilot, your mind a numb, empty space. You retrace your steps through the maze of trenches that cut through the village ruins. You pass the same sentries, the same staff orderlies. They give you the same wide berth. You are the returning messenger, a bad omen from the world they try so hard to keep at a distance. You don't look at them. You keep your eyes fixed on the muddy ground in front of you. You find the entrance to the main communication trench, Regent Street, and plunge back into its narrow, claustrophobic confines. The return journey is always worse. The outbound trip is fueled by a sense of purpose, of mission. The return is just a weary slog towards a destination that offers no real safety, only a different flavor of danger. You are tired now, your brief respite having only served to highlight your exhaustion. Your muscles, briefly warm, have stiffened up again. The water in your clothes seems to have gained weight, pulling you down, making every movement a struggle. You approach the aid post again. The line of wounded is still there. You see a stretcher being carried out of the dugout, a man lying on it, covered by a gray blanket. Only his boots are visible, caked in the same mud as your own. You force yourself to look away, to focus on placing your feet, one after another, on the treacherous duckboards. The journey feels longer this time. The zigzagging of the trench seems more pronounced, more disorienting. Every corner you turn, you half expect to see something terrible. The silence between the shell bursts is heavier, filled with the ghosts of the things you've already seen. The moaning man, the collapsed dugout, the crater. Your mind keeps replaying the moment you stepped into that cold, foul water, the feeling of your foot slipping on that hard, smooth object. You try to push the thought away, but it keeps coming back, unwelcome and vivid. You reach C-section, the site of the crater. It looks exactly the same, a placid, brown pool of water blocking your path. There is no sign that you were ever there. The trench has swallowed your passage without a trace. This time, the thought of wading through it again is almost more than you can bear. The memory of the cold is so intense it makes you shiver violently. You stand there for a full minute, just staring at it, your mind a blank wall of despair. But there is no other way. To go over the top is suicide. To go back is to fail, to be branded a coward. And so, with a deep, shuddering sigh that is half-groan, you once again hold your rifle high and step into the abyss. The shock of the cold is just as bad as the first time, a brutal, physical assault. The water climbs your body, stealing your breath. The mud sucks at your boots. You move with a grim, dogged determination, your teeth clenched so hard your jaw aches. You focus on a single thought: get to the other side. Nothing else matters. The past is gone, the future is a fantasy. Only this moment, this struggle, is real. You drag yourself out onto the duckboards on the far side, gasping and shaking, a creature of mud and misery. You don't even pause this time. You just keep moving, propelled forward by a will that is no longer entirely your own. It is the will of the uniform, the will of the orders, the will of the war itself. You are moving through a dreamscape of brown and gray. The walls of the trench slide past, an endless, repeating pattern of sandbags and earth. You lose track of time. Has it been minutes? An hour? The sky above is unchanging. The sound of the guns is a constant drone. Your world has shrunk to the 10 yards of trench visible in front of you, to the sound of your own ragged breathing, to the squelch of your boots. You pass the spot where the shell-shocked soldier was. He is gone. There is nothing to show he was ever there, except for a slight indentation in the mud where he was sitting. You feel a strange, hollow pang of, what? Relief? Disappointment? You don't know. He has been absorbed by the system, taken away to be processed, just like the wounded, just like the dead. You are still here. For now, the trench becomes narrower, the walls more damaged. You are getting closer to the front line. The smell of rot is stronger here, and the air has a sharper, more metallic taste. You can hear the snap and crackle of rifle fire again, closer this time. A stray bullet whines overhead, a sudden, angry buzz that makes you duck instinctively, your helmet scraping against the sandbag wall. Your heart leaps into your throat. It was nowhere near you, but it's a reminder. A reminder that death can come from anywhere, at any time, without warning. You begin to see familiar landmarks, if such a word can be used for this hellish place. A section of wall shored up with a stolen iron bedstead. A sandbag that has burst, spilling its contents in a pale cascade down the wall. A periscope, its lens like a single, unblinking eye, poking up over the parapet. You are almost back. You turn a final corner and you are there. The front line. You can see the men from your platoon, huddled in the same positions you left them in. Nothing has changed. A man is cleaning his rifle. Another is trying to light a damp cigarette. 2 others are speaking in low, hushed tones. They look up as you approach, their faces showing no surprise, only a weary acknowledgement. Your return was not guaranteed, but it was expected. Sergeant Miller sees you and pushes himself off the fire step where he was leaning. Henderson, you made good time. He looks you up and down, taking in your drenched and shivering state. He doesn't comment on it. It's normal. Any trouble? C-section is flooded, Sergeant. Deep. Other than that, no. You hand him the canvas pouch. Your hand is shaking so much you can barely hold it steady. He takes it and opens it, reading the reply from a world away. He grunts. Right. Supplies. As if we'll see those before Christmas. He tucks the message into his tunic pocket. Go on, son. Get yourself sorted. You're done for now. Done for now. The words are the sweetest music you have ever heard. You nod, too exhausted to speak, and stumble towards your spot, the small section of fire step that is your home. You slump down onto the cold, damp wood, your back against the sandbags. The journey is over. You have survived. This time, you let your rifle slide from your shoulder. It lands with a soft thud in the mud. You don't care. You lean your head back, closing your eyes. The world dissolves into a swirling gray fog behind your eyelids. The sounds of the trench, the distant shelling, the nearby coughing, the drip of water, all begin to merge into a single, monotonous drone. Someone nudges you. You open your eyes to see Corporal Jones kneeling beside you. He's an older man, a reservist with kind eyes and a thick mustache. He's holding out his mess tin. Here, lad, got some hot char, and a bit of biscuit. You stare at the steaming tea as if it were the Holy Grail. Thanks, Jonesy, you whisper. Don't mention it, he says, his voice a low rumble. You look like you've been through the ringer. He places the tin in your hands. Your fingers are so cold and numb you can barely feel the heat, but you clutch it like a lifeline. He also gives you a single, hard biscuit. It's as tough as a piece of wood, but it's food. You sip the tea. It's scalding hot and painfully sweet. It shocks your system back into a semblance of life. You dunk the biscuit into the tea, letting it soften for a long time before you attempt to chew it. It's bland and coarse, but it fills a tiny part of the vast, aching emptiness in your stomach. You eat and drink slowly, mechanically, your gaze fixed on the opposite wall of the trench. You are not thinking. You are just existing. When you finish, you hand the empty tin back to Jones. He just nods and moves away, leaving you to your solitude. The brief moment of human connection is over. You are alone again with the cold and the exhaustion. You try to get comfortable, a futile exercise. You pull your knees up to your chest, wrapping your arms around them, trying to generate some warmth. Your clothes are a cold, clammy second skin. The shivering starts again, a deep, uncontrollable tremor that racks your entire body. You should try to sleep. That's what Miller meant by get yourself sorted. Sleep is the only escape, the only currency you have to pay for the next bout of wakefulness. But sleep is a fickle friend in this place. Your mind is still racing, replaying the journey. The corners of the trench, the sound of the moaning man, the sucking mud of the crater. Your body is a symphony of pain, every nerve ending screaming for relief. And always, always, there is the noise. The guns never stop. A shell lands somewhere close, a sudden, violent crump that shakes the very earth beneath you and sends a shower of dirt raining down from the parapet. You flinch, curling into a tighter ball, your heart hammering against your ribs. Sleep will not come easily. You know this, so you just sit there, your head resting on your knees, and you wait. You watch the light begin to fade as the afternoon wears on. The sliver of sky above turns from pale white to a deeper, more bruised-looking gray. The shelling intensifies, as it always does towards dusk. The evening hate is beginning. The air whines and screams. The ground trembles. This is the soundtrack to your life, the lullaby of the front. You close your eyes again, not in an attempt to sleep, but just to shut out the sight of the trench, the endless brown and gray. You focus on the feeling of the rough sandbag at your back, the ache in your muscles, the cold in your bones. You try to regulate your breathing, to make it slow and even, an old trick you learned to calm your nerves. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Exhale for 4 counts. The rhythm is a small island of order in a world of chaos. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. A rat, bold as brass, scurries across your boot. You kick out instinctively, a sudden, violent motion, and it disappears into a crevice in the wall. Your heart is pounding again. You hate them. You hate their beady eyes, their twitching noses, the way they move with such confidence through your world of misery. They are a constant, gnawing reminder of the filth and decay that surrounds you, that is inside you. You pull your thin, damp blanket up around your shoulders. It offers little warmth but provides a fragile psychological barrier against the world. You are a snail, retreating into its shell. You drift in a state of semi-consciousness, a gray limbo between sleep and waking. Images flash through your mind. Your sister's face, smiling in the sun in a garden back home. The face of the captain in his clean dugout. The wide, unseeing eyes of the shell-shocked soldier. They merge and blend, a feverish collage of a life that is and a life that was. The darkness deepens. The flashes from the shell bursts become more brilliant, lighting up the trench in brief, stark tableaus of mud-caked men and glistening sandbags, then plunging it back into profound blackness. The night has come, and with it, a deeper, more primal fear. The things you can't see are always worse. You pull the blanket tighter, making yourself as small as you can, and you pray. You don't pray for victory, or for glory, or even for the war to end. You pray for a simple, humble thing. You pray for the dawn. You pray that you will be allowed to survive one more night. The night does not bring rest. It brings a different kind of duty. You doze in fits and starts, your body slumped on the fire step, your mind never truly shutting down. Every loud explosion, every nearby shout, jerks you back to full, heart-pounding awareness. The cold deepens as the hours crawl by, a penetrating, damp chill that seems to emanate from the earth itself. The shivering becomes a permanent state, a low-grade tremor that you no longer even try to fight. It's just part of you now. Sometime after midnight, you are shaken awake by a firm hand on your shoulder. It's Sergeant Miller again. His face is a phantom in the darkness, illuminated for a split second by a distant flare that casts a ghostly green light over the landscape. Henderson, on your feet, sentry duty. You groan inwardly, a silent protest that never reaches your lips. Your body feels like a single, solid block of pain. To move is agony, but you do it. You force your stiff limbs to obey, pushing yourself up, your joints cracking and popping in protest. You grab your rifle, its cold weight a miserable, familiar burden. 2 hours. Parapet. See post, Miller says, his voice a low rasp. Keep your eyes peeled. Corporal Jones will relieve you. You nod, your mind still thick with the fog of broken sleep. You stumble along the trench, your boots making obscene sucking noises in the dark. You pass other sleeping forms, men curled up like children, their faces hidden in the shadows. They look like corpses, and for a terrifying second, you sometimes think they are. You reach C post, a small alcove in the trench line. A figure detaches itself from the wall. It's Private Smith, a young lad, barely 18. You can smell the fear on him, a sour, animal scent. Anything? You whisper, your voice hoarse. Nothing, he whispers back. Quiet, too quiet. He scrambles past you, eager to get back to the relative safety of his dugout, to the oblivion of sleep. And then you are alone. Utterly, completely alone with the night. You climb onto the fire step, the wood slick with a fresh layer of slime. You peer over the top, into the impenetrable blackness of no man's land. The darkness is absolute, a thick, velvety curtain that seems to absorb all light and sound. The earlier flares have died down. The shelling has, for the moment, subsided into a low, distant grumble. The silence that Smith found so unnerving descends upon you. Your job is to watch. But you can see nothing. So you listen. You strain your ears, trying to pick out individual sounds from the soft night breeze that whispers over the top of the trench. You hear the creak of a timber somewhere down the line. The drip, drip, drip of water from a sandbag. The frantic, terrified squeal of a rat caught by a dog or another, bigger rat. Your own breathing sounds thunderous in your ears. Your heartbeat is a frantic drum against your ribs. This is a different kind of fear from the run. The run was about action, about movement, about immediate, identifiable threats. This is a slow, creeping dread, a fear of the unknown. Your imagination, your greatest enemy in this moment, begins to work. It populates the darkness with terrors. German raiding parties, their faces blackened with cork, crawling on their bellies through the mud, their trench knives held between their teeth. Snipers with infrared scopes, a rumor you heard that you half believe, searching for the dim glow of a match or the silhouette of a head against the sky. Ghosts of the dead, rising from their muddy graves to reclaim their territory. You grip your rifle tighter, your knuckles white. Every rustle of the wind in the barbed wire is the sound of a German soldier cutting his way through. Every clod of earth that trickles down the trench wall is the sound of a boot dislodging a stone. You see movement where there is none. You hear whispers that are only the blood pounding in your ears. Your eyes, staring into the blackness, begin to play tricks on you, creating faint, shimmering shapes that dance and retreat. You try to ground yourself. You focus on the physical sensations. The rough texture of the sandbag under your chilled fingers. The hard pressure of your helmet on your forehead. The dull ache in your feet. You are here. You are real. The trench is real. But the fear is real, too. It's a cold, hard knot in your stomach. Time loses all meaning. Seconds stretch into minutes, minutes into hours. You are trapped in an eternal, terrifying present. You think of home, a desperate attempt to distract yourself. You try to picture your mother's kitchen, the smell of baking bread, the warmth of the fire. But the image is hazy, distant, like a photograph from someone else's life. It has no power here. The darkness is too strong. The reality of the trench overwhelms it, smothers it. Suddenly, a flare goes up. A German one. It bursts high above, a brilliant, magnesium-white star that descends slowly on a small parachute, bathing the world in a stark, unforgiving light. For 30 seconds, no man's land is illuminated as bright as day. You freeze, pressing yourself flat against the parapet, hoping you are just another lump of mud and sand. The landscape is a nightmare of black and white. The shell craters are pools of ink. The barbed wire is a tangled web of silver thorns. The dead, scattered across the churned earth, are thrown into sharp, horrific relief, their limbs twisted at unnatural angles. You scan the scene with frantic eyes, searching for any sign of movement, any helmet, any uniform that doesn't belong. Nothing. There is nothing there. It is a dead world. The flare dies, plunging the world back into an even deeper blackness, the image of that terrible landscape burned onto the back of your retinas. The silence that follows is profound. And then, from the German line, a sound begins. A single, clear voice, singing. It's a folk song, a simple, melancholic melody that drifts across the dead space between the trenches. It is beautiful and heartbreakingly sad. It's a sound of pure humanity in a place of utter inhumanity. For a moment, you forget you are a soldier. You forget the fear. You are just a man, listening to another man sing in the dark. The song hangs in the air for a minute or two, and then it stops. The silence that returns is different. It is no longer menacing. It is just empty. You are so lost in the moment that you don't hear Corporal Jones approach until he is right beside you. "All right, Henderson?" he whispers. You jump, startled, your heart hammering. "Fine, Corporal. All quiet. My turn," he says simply. "Go on, get some kip. You've earned it." You climb down from the fire step, your legs shaking with a combination of cold and residual fear. You don't need to be told twice. You stumble back to your spot, collapsing onto the damp earth. You pull your blanket over your head, shutting out the world. This time, exhaustion wins. The fear, the cold, the pain, they are all still there, but they are overwhelmed by a bone-deep weariness that is beyond resistance. Your mind finally surrenders, and you fall into a heavy, dreamless sleep. It is not rest. It is oblivion. You wake to the familiar, brutal sound of the morning hate. A crescendo of explosions, much closer this time, shakes the ground and makes your teeth rattle. It's still dark, but the dawn is not far off. You sit up, your head thick and groggy, your body stiff and cold. The brief hours of sleep have done little to restore you. They have merely put your misery on pause. The shelling is intense. The air is filled with the constant shriek and whine of incoming rounds, followed by the deafening crump 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 of their impact. The trench vibrates with each explosion. Dirt and debris rain down from above. Men are shouting, their voices thin and reedy against the overwhelming roar of the artillery. This is not the routine, distant shelling of yesterday. This is targeted. This is personal. You pull on your helmet, your hands clumsy and slow. You look around. The other men are awake, their faces pale and grim in the flickering light of the explosions. No one speaks. There is nothing to say. You are all just waiting, trapped in this narrow ditch, praying that the next shell doesn't have your name on it. A shell lands just behind the trench, on the parados. The explosion is immense, a physical blow that throws you forward. The world is a chaos of noise and pressure. You feel a searing heat on your back and hear the high-pitched whistle of shrapnel flying past your head. You lie flat in the mud, your face pressed against the slimy duckboards, your arms covering your head. You can taste dirt and fear in your mouth. You are certain you are about to die. The barrage lasts for 20 minutes, an eternity of terror. And then, as suddenly as it began, it stops. The silence that follows is deafening, broken only by the ringing in your ears and the distant, piteous moaning of a wounded man somewhere down the line. Slowly, cautiously, you lift your head. The air is thick with smoke and the smell of cordite. You push yourself up. You are covered in dirt, but you are alive. You are whole. You do a quick, frantic check of your body. No pain, other than the usual aches. No blood. You are alive. The realization dawns on you with a wave of giddy, nauseating relief. "Everyone all right?" Sergeant Miller is shouting, his voice strained. Men call back, their voices shaky. I'm all right. Okay, here. Then, a different voice. Medics. We need medics. Billy's hit. Oh God, he's hit bad. The aftermath of a barrage is often worse than the barrage itself. The sight of the wounded, the reality of the damage done. You don't want to look. You force yourself to stay where you are, to focus on your own small space. But you are not allowed that luxury. Miller is making his way down the trench, his face a mask of grim determination. He stops in front of you. Henderson. Get up. You get to your feet, your legs feeling like jelly. The telephone lines are cut, he says, his voice flat and hard. Every single one of them. We're blind. I need a runner. Your heart sinks. Not now. Not after that. Message to company command. They're in the old brewery, back in the support line. You know it? You nod numbly. The old brewery. It's not as far as Battalion HQ, but the route is more exposed. Tell Major Harris our lines are holding, but we've taken casualties. We need stretcher bearers and more morphine. And tell him their barrage was bloody accurate. We think they're planning a raid. Tell him to be ready. He's not writing this down. The barrage was too sudden. This is a verbal message. You have to remember it. Word for word. Repeat it back to me, he orders. You lick your dry lips, your mind struggling to focus through the fog of fear. Lines holding. Casualties. Need stretcher bearers and morphine. We suspect a raid is coming. Be ready. Good lad, Miller says. He looks at you, his hard eyes softening for just a fraction of a second. It's a bad one out there, son. The ground will be chaos. Don't take any chances. Just be quick. Go. There is no time to think, no time to feel the fear. You just react. You check your rifle, settle your helmet, and you start to run. Or rather, you start to move as fast as you can through the mud and debris. The communication trench is a wreck. The shelling has collapsed sections of the wall, creating impassable piles of earth and splintered wood. You have to scramble over them, exposing yourself for precious seconds over the top of the trench line. Each time you do, you feel 1,000 invisible eyes on you, the crosshairs of a sniper settling on your back. You don't look towards the German lines. You just focus on getting over the obstacle and back down into the relative cover of the trench. The air is thick with a strange, sweet smell, like pineapple and pepper. Gas. You fumble for your mask, your fingers clumsy and slow. You pull the stuffy, claustrophobic hood over your head, adjusting the eyepieces, which are already starting to fog up. You stick the rubber mouthpiece between your teeth and clip the pince-nez over your nose. Your breathing becomes a loud, rasping sound in your own ears, each breath a conscious effort. The world outside is reduced to 2 blurry circles, seen through clouded celluloid. You press on, a blind, monstrous creature moving through a poisoned world. The gas is phosgene, you think. It's insidious. It doesn't always choke you straight away. It can seem fine, and then hours later, your lungs fill with fluid and you drown from the inside out. You have to keep the mask on until you are sure you are clear. You are moving through a fresh hell. The landscape of the trench has been transformed by the barrage into something even more broken and terrifying. You pass a direct hit on a dugout. The entrance is gone, replaced by a crater of smoking earth. You can smell burned flesh. You don't let yourself think about who was inside. You just keep moving. Your lungs burn. The air inside the mask is hot and stale. Sweat is pouring down your face, stinging your eyes. Every step is a monumental effort. You finally stumble out of the gas cloud, the air smelling clean and sharp by comparison. You rip the mask off, gulping in deep lungfuls of fresh air, even though it is still tainted with cordite and rot. You are panting, your heart racing, but you cannot stop. The message is a burning coal in your mind. Lines holding, casualties, morphine, raid. You reach the support lines. They are in chaos. Wounded men are everywhere. Stretcher bearers are rushing back and forth. Officers are shouting orders that no one seems to be hearing. The world has been thrown into a state of panic. You push your way through the confusion, an anonymous, mud-caked figure with a vital purpose. You find the ruins of the old brewery. Its brick walls are pockmarked with shell hits, but it's still standing, a testament to solid, old-world construction. You find the entrance to the command post in the cellar. You don't bother knocking. You burst in, breathless and wild-eyed. A major with a magnificent mustache looks up, startled, from his map table. What in God's name? You gasp out the message, the words tumbling over each other in your haste. Sergeant Miller, sir, front line, lines holding, we've taken casualties, need stretcher bearers, need morphine. He thinks a raid is coming, sir. He said to be ready. The major, Harris, stares at you. His face is pale. He had been blind, cut off. You are the first news from the front. You are the first sign of life. He turns to his adjutant. Get on the line to brigade. Tell them we're expecting an attack. Get every available man to the forward positions. Move, now. The dugout explodes into frantic, controlled activity. The major has his information. The machine is working again. And you, the small, filthy cog that made it all turn, are once again forgotten. You have done your job. You have delivered the message. You have survived another run. You stand there, leaning against the damp brick wall, your body screaming with 1,000 different kinds of pain, and you realize that you have to go back. You have to make the whole terrible journey, in reverse, back to the line. And you are not sure, this time, if you have the strength to do it. You don't get a mug of tea this time. There is no rum. The urgency in the brewery cellar is a frantic, palpable thing, a storm of activity that has no place for a single, exhausted runner. Major Harris is barking orders into a telephone that has miraculously been repaired. Other officers are poring over maps, their voices sharp with tension. Stretcher bearers rush in and out of the cellar, their boots clattering on the stone steps, their faces grim. You are an obstacle, a piece of mud-caked furniture in the way of important men doing important things. No one speaks to you. No one even looks at you. Your message has been delivered, and your existence has ceased to matter to them. You know you should leave. You know you need to report back to Sergeant Miller. But your body refuses to obey. Your legs feel like they are made of lead, rooted to the damp stone floor. Your lungs burn with every breath, a raw, scraped feeling left by the gas and the exertion. A violent cough racks your body, a deep, rattling sound that brings up a thick, foul-tasting phlegm. You spit it onto the floor, not caring who sees. Your head is light, your vision blurry at the edges. The world seems to tilt and sway, and you press your hand against the cold, weeping brick of the wall to steady yourself. You are beyond tired. This is a new state of being, a depth of exhaustion you have never known. It's a hollowing out, a complete depletion of all physical and mental reserves. Every part of you is screaming for release, for the simple, blessed oblivion of sleep. The thought of the return journey is not just daunting, it feels physically impossible, like being asked to fly. The path back through the ruined trenches, over the collapsed walls, past the dead and the dying, seems like a journey to another planet. A corporal from the signal corps brushes past you, jostling your shoulder. "Out of the way, mate," he mutters, not unkindly. "Got work to do." The comment, as casual as it is, breaks the spell of your paralysis. You are in the way. You don't belong here. Your place is back in the filth, back in the line, with the other grunts. With a monumental effort of will, you push yourself off the wall. You take a single step, then another. Your body moves like a rusty machine, every joint protesting. You climb the steps out of the cellar and back into the gray, chaotic world. The air is still thick with smoke. The sounds of shouting and the cries of the wounded form a terrible chorus. The initial panic of the barrage aftermath has subsided into a more organized, but no less desperate, state of emergency. You begin the long walk back. You put one foot in front of the other. That is all you can do. You don't think about the destination. You don't think about the danger. You focus only on the next step, and the one after that. The world shrinks to the few feet of ground in front of your boots. Squelch, suck, lift, squelch, suck, lift. It becomes a mantra, a rhythm that you cling to, a way to keep your fractured mind from flying apart. You pass a long line of walking wounded, making their slow, painful way back towards a casualty clearing station. They are a parade of ghosts. Men with arms in bloody slings, men with bandaged heads, men leaning heavily on their comrades, their faces the color of ash. One man sits by the side of the trench, his face buried in his hands, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. You walk past them all, your own misery a private, internal thing. You are one of them, yet you are separate. They are leaving the battle. You are walking back into it. You enter the communication trench you used before. It is even more of a wreck than you remembered. The work of the stretcher bearers has churned the mud into a deeper, more treacherous bog. You pass discarded field dressings, stained dark with blood. They lie in the mud like fallen petals. The sweet, cloying smell of blood is everywhere. You have to climb over another collapsed section. As you pull yourself up, scrambling for purchase on the loose earth, your hand closes around something hard and round. You think it's a rock, but it comes loose in your hand. You look down at it. It's a helmet, a British Brodie helmet, caked in mud, with a single, neat hole punched through the side. You drop it as if it were a hot coal. It falls with a soft thud, rolling into a puddle of brown water. You feel a wave of nausea wash over you. You scramble over the top, your heart pounding, and drop back down into the trench on the other side, your breath coming in ragged gasps. You press on, moving like an automaton. You no longer feel the chafing of your uniform or the cold water in your boots. Your senses are dull, blunted by exhaustion and horror. The world is a blurry, gray-brown tunnel. You are aware of the sounds of the war, the distant rumble, the occasional crack of a rifle, but they seem to come from a long way off, as if you were listening to them through cotton wool. You pass the dugout with the direct hit again. The smoke has cleared. A work party is there, grim-faced men with shovels. They aren't digging for survivors. They are just trying to clear the path. No one speaks. The only sound is the scrape and thud of their shovels in the dirt. You avert your eyes and hurry past. Your mind begins to play tricks on you. In the shifting shadows of the trench, you see faces. Men you knew who are now dead. You see Corporal Smith, who you shared a cigarette with last week, his face pale and smiling, beckoning you from around a corner. You see a young boy from your village, someone who died on the Somme a year ago, sitting on a pile of sandbags, cleaning his rifle. You blink, and they are gone. They are just tricks of the light, phantoms born of a mind stretched to its breaking point. But they feel real. They feel like they are waiting for you. You are talking to yourself now, a low, continuous mumble under your breath. Just a bit further. Keep going. Not long now. The words are a charm, a ward against the encroaching madness. You are losing your grip. You are aware of it on some distant, rational level, but you are powerless to stop it. You are a vessel, and you are cracking. Finally, after an eternity, you see the familiar sight of your own front-line trench. It is a haven of sorts, a known hell rather than an unknown one. You see the faces of your platoon mates. They look up as you approach, their expressions unreadable. You look like a madman, a creature that has crawled out of a grave. Your face is a mask of mud, your eyes are wide and staring, your uniform is in tatters. You find Sergeant Miller. He is talking to a lieutenant you don't recognize, a new officer, his face still absurdly young and unlined. They both turn as you stumble towards them. "Henderson," Miller says, his voice low. "I wasn't sure I'd see you again." You just shake your head, unable to form words. You are swaying on your feet. "Did you deliver the message?" the lieutenant asks, his voice a little too loud, a little too eager. You nod. "Major Harris is aware? Reinforcements are coming?" You nod again. Your throat is a desert. You can't speak. Miller puts a steadying hand on your arm. "All right, son, you're done. You're all done." He turns to the lieutenant. "This man has been through hell, sir. He needs rest." The lieutenant looks at you. A flicker of something, pity, perhaps, or discomfort, in his eyes. "Of course, Sergeant. See to him." He turns away, his duty done. Miller leads you to your fire step. He gently pushes you down, and you collapse onto the damp wood, your limbs giving way completely. You have nothing left, no strength, no will, no thought. You are an empty shell. "Just rest now, lad," Miller says, his voice softer than you have ever heard it. "Nothing's going to happen for a while. The raid never came. Jerry was just trying to soften us up." The words barely register. Raid or no raid, it makes no difference. The damage is done. The fear was real. The run was real. The dead are real. You lie there, your cheek pressed against the rough, damp wood of the fire step. You don't take off your helmet or your equipment. You don't have the strength. You just lie there, a discarded bundle of muddy wool and exhausted flesh. The world continues around you. Men talk in low voices. Someone is trying to brew tea over a small, smoky fire. The guns continue their distant, rhythmic pounding. It is the heartbeat of the world, and it will go on forever. You close your eyes. The darkness behind your eyelids is a relief. It is a curtain falling on the horror. But the images are still there, burned into your mind. The crater full of water. The helmet with the hole in it. The faces of the dead boys you knew. They flicker and dance in the darkness, a silent, terrible movie. You feel a profound sense of detachment, as if you are floating above your own body. You can feel the ache in your bones, the cold in your skin, but it feels like it is happening to someone else. You are a spectator to your own suffering. Is this how it ends? Not with a bang. Not with a shell or a bullet, but with a quiet, slow fading away. A simple depletion, like a lamp running out of oil. You feel a hand on your shoulder again. It's Corporal Jones. He's holding a mess tin. Steam rises from it. "Bully beef stew," he says softly. "It's hot. You need to eat, lad." You turn your head slowly and look at him. His kind, weathered face is etched with concern. You don't want to eat. The thought of putting food in your stomach is revolting. But you know you must. It is an act of survival, a defiance against the emptiness that is trying to consume you. You push yourself up into a sitting position, your movements slow and painful. You take the tin. The hot metal burns your numb fingers. You lift the spoon. It trembles in your hand, rattling against the side of the tin. You manage to get a spoonful of the hot, greasy stew into your mouth. You chew slowly, mechanically. It tastes of nothing, but it is warm. The warmth spreads through your chest, a small, flickering ember in the vast, cold darkness of your body. You take another spoonful, and another. You eat the entire tin of stew, not because you are hungry, but because Corporal Jones is watching you, his presence a silent insistence on life. When you are finished, you hand the empty tin back to him. "Good lad," he says, and pats you on the shoulder before moving away. You lie back down, curling into a tight ball, pulling your damp blanket around you. The small amount of food in your stomach has not given you strength, but it has anchored you, pulled you back from the brink of floating away. You are still here. You are still in this trench. The war is still going on. The afternoon light begins to fade. The sky above turns a deep, sorrowful purple. The evening hate begins, the familiar symphony of shells and guns. You don't flinch anymore. You just listen, the sounds washing over you. You are a stone at the bottom of a river, and the current of the war flows over you, unable to move you. You are drifting. You are not asleep, but you are not truly awake. You are in the gray space between, a world of shadows and echoes. You think you hear your sister calling your name, her voice carried on the wind. You think you feel the warmth of the sun on your face, from a time before the mud, before the noise, before the fear. These are ghosts, memories of a life that no longer exists. A life you can never go back to, even if you survive this. You are a different creature now. The boy who came to this trench is gone, buried somewhere in the mud along with the others. Darkness falls completely. Flares go up, casting their brief, cruel light. The sentries change guard. The routine of the trench continues, indifferent to your personal collapse. You are just one more exhausted soldier, one more spirit hovering on the edge of breaking. The trench is full of them. You feel a strange sense of peace settling over you. It is not happiness. It is not hope. It is the peace of utter surrender. You have fought, you have run, you have endured. You have done all that was asked of you, and more. And now, you can do no more. You release your grip. You let go. Your breathing becomes slow and shallow. The pounding in your head subsides. The ache in your limbs dulls to a distant hum. The sounds of the trench, the explosions, the shouting, the rats, all begin to fade, receding into the background, becoming a soft, indistinct drone. It is like you are sinking, slowly, gently, into a deep, quiet pool of water. It is not cold like the water in the crater. It is calm. It is silent. It is dark. You let yourself sink deeper and deeper, down into the quiet, down into the dark, down into the final, merciful silence. The world fades. The noise stops. And there is nothing. The silence does not last. It is a borrowed moment, a brief caesura in the relentless composition of the war. You are pulled back towards the surface of consciousness not by a noise, but by a change in pressure, a subtle shift in the air that your body now registers as a precursor to violence. Your eyes flicker open. The sliver of sky visible above the trench is no longer black, but a deep, bruised indigo. It is the darkest hour, the one just before the true dawn. The shelling has momentarily lulled, creating a pocket of tense, waiting silence. It is the same kind of silence you experienced on sentry duty, but this time it feels heavier, more pregnant with intent. You are still lying on the fire step, curled in the same position. Your body is a single, unified continent of pain. The brief respite of your semi-conscious state has done nothing to heal you. It has only allowed the stiffness to set in more deeply. Your joints feel welded together. Your muscles are screaming in protest at your continued existence. You try to shift your weight, and a groan escapes your lips, a low, animal sound of pure misery. The small warmth from the stew you ate hours ago is long gone, replaced by the familiar, gnawing cold that has become your most intimate companion. You are thirsty. Your mouth is a desert, your tongue a dry, swollen thing that sticks to the roof of your mouth. You reach for your water bottle, your movements slow and clumsy. Your fingers, numb and stiff, struggle with the cap. You finally get it open and lift it to your lips. The water is stale and has a metallic, chemical taste from the chlorine tablets used to purify it, but it is wet. You take a small sip, then another, letting the liquid soothe your parched throat. You have to make it last. You don't know when you'll next have a chance to refill it. You lie back, your head resting against the damp, unyielding sandbag. You are awake now, fully, horribly awake, and with wakefulness comes thought, and with thought comes fear. The brief sense of peace, of surrender, has vanished, leaving you exposed and raw. You remember everything: the run, the gas, the helmet with the hole in it, the faces of the wounded, the cellar full of important men who did not see you. The memory is not a narrative, it's a chaotic jumble of sensory impressions, a collage of horror that plays on a loop inside your skull. You think about Sergeant Miller's words. The raid never came. It was a false alarm, a phantom threat, but you ran. You faced the barrage, the gas, the collapsed trenches. You pushed your body and mind to the absolute limit, and for what? For a possibility that never materialized. A bitter, useless anger begins to curdle in the pit of your stomach. It's a weak, fragile anger, easily overwhelmed by the sheer scale of your exhaustion and despair, but it's there. An anger at the major, at the sergeant, at the Germans, at God, at the entire, insane world that has put you in this ditch and commanded you to suffer for reasons you no longer understand or care about. You hear movement nearby. It's Corporal Jones, his familiar, bulky silhouette moving quietly in the gloom. He is checking on the sleeping men, a shepherd tending his flock. He pauses by you, and though you cannot see his face clearly in the dark, you can feel his gaze on you. "You're awake, lad," he whispers. His voice is a low, comforting rumble. You just grunt in response. "The stand-to will be in half an hour," he says. Try and get yourself right. Get yourself right. The phrase is an absurdity. How can anyone be right in this place? You are a broken thing. A clockwork toy that has been wound too tight and is now shuddering towards a final, catastrophic spring release. But you nod anyway, a small, barely perceptible movement. Jones pats your leg, a gesture of solidarity, and moves on down the line. You have half an hour. Half an hour before you have to climb onto that fire step again, rifle in hand, and stare into the gray wasteland of no man's land, waiting for an attack that might or might not come. Half an hour before the whole, terrible cycle begins anew. The thought fills you with a weariness so profound it feels like a physical weight pressing down on your chest, making it hard to breathe. You decide to use the time. You have to do something, anything, to feel like you have some small measure of control over your own existence. Slowly, painfully, you sit up. The world spins for a moment, and you close your eyes until it steadies. You begin the laborious process of checking your equipment, not because you think you will need it, but because it is a ritual, a set of familiar motions that can anchor your unraveling mind. You unsling your rifle. You place it across your lap. It is caked in mud from your last journey. You take out your oily rag, the one treasure you have that can fight back against the all-consuming damp and dirt. You begin to clean the weapon, your fingers slow and methodical. You wipe down the stock, the smooth wood now scarred and stained. You open the bolt and carefully clean the chamber, scraping out the small particles of dirt and grit that have worked their way inside. You check the magazine again, pushing down on the top bullet with your thumb to make sure the spring is still working. The rifle is your tool, your only means of defense, but it is also a symbol of your entrapment. You are bound to it, just as an ancient prisoner was bound to a heavy iron ball. As you clean, you notice a new tremor in your hands. It's not the shivering from the cold. It's a fine, uncontrollable shaking in your muscles, a sign that your nerves are shot to pieces. Your movements are jerky and uncertain. You almost drop the bolt as you try to slide it back into place. You curse under your breath, a string of foul, whispered words that offer a tiny, pathetic release of your frustration. You finish with the rifle and turn your attention to your feet. This is perhaps the most important ritual of all. Trench foot. You've seen what it can do. You've seen men with feet that are swollen, blue, and numb, the flesh literally rotting away inside their boots. You've seen them carried away on stretchers, their war over, but their lives perhaps ruined. You are terrified of it. With a great effort, you pull off your boots. The sucking sound as they come free is followed by a rush of cold air on your wet socks. The smell is appalling, a rank, cheesy odor of stale sweat and stagnant water. You peel off your socks. They are stiff with dried mud and sweat, and they come away with a tearing sound, taking small patches of skin with them. You look at your feet in the dim light. They are a ghastly sight. They are pale white, wrinkled like the hands of a washerwoman, and criss-crossed with angry red lines and sores where the wet leather of your boots has been rubbing them raw. They are cold to the touch, unnaturally so, as if they belong to a corpse. You take a dry, or at least a less damp, piece of cloth from your pack and begin to rub them vigorously, trying to bring some life, some circulation back into the dead flesh. The friction is painful, but it is a good pain. It is a sign of feeling. You massage your toes, your arches, the soles of your feet. You work away for 10 minutes, a desperate, focused effort to stave off the creeping decay that is the ever-present threat of the trenches. You fish out a pair of dry socks from an oilskin pouch deep within your satchel. They are your last pair. Putting them on is a moment of pure, unadulterated luxury. The feel of the dry, rough wool against your skin is a pleasure so intense it almost makes you want to cry. You know the feeling won't last. The moment you put your wet boots back on, the damp will seep in again. But for now, for these few precious seconds, your feet are dry. You put your boots back on, the cold, slimy interior a brutal shock after the brief comfort of the dry socks. You lace them up tightly, the familiar prison closing around your feet once more. The ritual is complete. You have done what you can. You have held the line against the encroaching chaos for a few more hours. The sky is beginning to lighten. The deep indigo is giving way to a pale, sickly gray. The order comes down the line, a series of whispers and nudges. Stand to arms. You hear the familiar groans, the clatter of rifles, the squelch of boots as the platoon gets to its feet. You push yourself up one last time, your body screaming in a silent chorus of agony. You grab your newly cleaned rifle and climb onto the fire step. You are shoulder to shoulder with the other men now, a line of ghosts waiting for the dawn. You can see their faces more clearly in the growing light. They are young, but they look ancient. Their eyes are hollow, their cheeks sunken. Their skin is the color of the mud they live in. You are one of them. You look just like them. You rest your rifle on the parapet and peer through your usual gap between the sandbags. The scene is the same as it was yesterday. The same churned earth, the same shattered trees, the same tangled wire. But something is different. The morning mist is thinner today, and in the pale, ethereal light, you see that the landscape has changed. There are new shell craters, black, fresh wounds in the earth. And there are new shapes caught in the wire, new lumps in the mud. The barrage last night was not without its cost on both sides. The tension of the stand-to is a familiar feeling, but today it is muted for you. You are too tired to be properly afraid. Your fear is a distant, abstract thing, a memory of an emotion rather than the emotion itself. You feel hollowed out, empty. You watch the German line without real focus, your mind adrift. The sun, a pale, watery disk, rises above the horizon, but it brings no warmth. It only serves to illuminate the full, wretched scale of the devastation. The world is a monochromatic photograph of ruin. Then, you see it. A flicker of movement, not in the German trench, but in no man's land. It's about halfway across, near a large, water-filled crater. You squint, your eyes straining. It's a hand, a single, human hand, waving feebly from the edge of the crater. A survivor, someone who was wounded in the night and has been lying out there for hours. A German soldier. You can just make out the shape of his distinctive helmet. You feel a strange, conflicted emotion. He is the enemy. He is one of the men who has been trying to kill you. But he is also just a man, wounded and alone, dying in the mud. Someone near you raises his rifle. "I see him," he mutters. "Got a clean shot. Hold your fire." Sergeant Miller's voice cuts in, sharp and authoritative. He is just a few feet away from you, peering through a periscope. He watches for a long moment. He's alone. Looks like his stomach. He's not going anywhere. You continue to watch the waving hand. It grows weaker, more erratic. You can imagine the man, his body ripped open, his life bleeding out into the cold, foul water of the crater. He is calling for his mother, perhaps, or for God. Or maybe just for an end to the pain. The hand stops waving. It falls back and is still. He is gone. Another ghost has joined the legion of the dead that haunt this patch of earth. You feel a profound emptiness. His death means nothing. Your survival means nothing. You are all just caught in this vast, impersonal machine of slaughter, and it will continue to grind you up, one by one, until there is no one left. The order comes to stand down. The daily ritual of waiting for death is over. You climb down from the fire step, your movements stiff and automatic. You slump down in your usual spot, your back against the sandbags. Another day has begun, and you know, with a certainty that chills you to the soul, that it will be just like the day before. There will be an order, a message, a run. There will be mud and fear and pain. And you will have to do it all over again. You look down at your own hands. They are still trembling. You clench them into fists, trying to make them stop, but you can't. The tremor is deep inside you now. It is a part of who you are. The boy from the village is well and truly gone. The thing that is left is a runner. A creature of mud and nerve endings, stripped of everything but the primal, animal instinct to take one more step, to draw one more breath. You don't know how many more runs you have left in you. Maybe one, maybe none. You close your eyes, but you don't sleep. You just wait. You wait for the voice of the sergeant. You wait for the folded piece of paper. You wait for the next journey into hell. And as you wait, you can still see the hand, waving feebly from the edge of the crater, a final, desperate gesture in a world that has forgotten what it means to be human.